I love talking about photography and videography on this channel. So today what I'm going to talk about is branding your photography or videography business. This especially applies if you have just started off, or if you potentially think you need to rebrand, or just think that you should do something different for how you present yourself. And as coming from someone who actually studied graphic design, like communications and all that stuff in university/college, and also having done a lot of work in the past with it, I think this really does apply here. And I'm going to use some of those concepts to really illustrate how this can be beneficial later on. So here are some do's and don'ts for your branding/logo stuff that you should think about before you fully go forward and make it your official logo and like, put it on all your merchandise, all your print stuff, etc., etc. So choose what type of logo do you want. Do you want an icon? Do you want a word mark? Or do you want something kind of like mixes both? There are a few other styles, but these are the main few that work really well and generally can be done and translated to other different mediums very easily. So what I mean by that is, if you see how some of these logos are laid out, you'll get an idea that, like, okay, for example, like the Nike swoosh. You see the Nike swoosh, you know what it is immediately. Maybe you see the Adidas stripes, same thing. Or you see Tim Hortons and you know that logo, like the word, and then you see the oval or however they have it in their word now. Certain ways certain logos are done will help make it easy to be differentiated and also will help people recognize it. So definitely something to consider when you are branding yourself. And thinking about this early on will be beneficial because you don't have to go change this later on, because rebranding can be expensive, especially when you see all these very established companies like Pepsi and Burger King and stuff change their logo from something that's, very elaborate to something that's very simplified that looks like maybe a basic level graphic designer could have done. You'll see why it's really important. So to go along with that, don't make it complex. With a lot of these logos, like I just mentioned, if you make it complex, you're going to have an issue where if you're trying to make it go super small on like a business card or something where you want to have it smaller, it's not going to come out nearly as well. That's kind of the reason why I decided on my logo, where it has the tie in it, if you can see it, and also the letters that are subtly in there. It's easily able to be replicated when it's really big or really small, but there's no issue with it being different sizes. There should not be any issue. Certain other logos might be too small and you may not be able to read it. So like the old Tim Hortons logo, for example, would look really bad comparative to the new one where it's just a logo with the words itself. That would actually translate a lot better and you'll be able to put it much smaller and much cleaner as well. So another big one is choose colors for your brand. But I think choosing colors that are associated with your stuff works really well because you create like this kind of vibe and feel for your stuff. So if you look at color theory, and I can go really in depth to color theory in a future video if you want, and there's plenty of courses and videos out there, but essentially color has certain connotations. So for example, black might look more luxurious and slimming versus something where it's yellow, it's supposed to be energetic, or green is like green, or what's it called, recycling or something like that, or blue where it's recycling or police. These things have certain values because that's what they are kind of connotating from that. So having a certain look, like maybe you have the purple and, so maybe for example, you've noticed that I have purple and red behind me. I keep those colors because it's nice and vibrant, but those are the colors that you remember when you see behind me each time you come to my video. So if you have colors on your website, then you are able to showcase yourself differently compared to just, bland or, like black and white all the time. It will look much more vibrant and people will remember your site because it might have something different than someone who doesn't think about all this stuff. So to go along with that, do not choose random colors. Like I said, color theory matters, and especially with colors, you need to find things that work together. There are a few rare case scenarios where you can have like slightly different shades or slightly different things where the colors don't have to necessarily match, but usually if you have like complementary colors, or I think they're called analogous colors, there's certain ways that you can match these colors up and have a certain look which works really, really well, and it looks pleasing to the eye. If you have something that looks obstructive and just very annoying to look at, you're not going to want to look at it. It's just going to hurt your eyes. It's just going to look gaudy and tacky. It's just not going to look good. So really consider some of the stuff like this. So next is probably a big one that I see done so much that I really wish people didn't do this, but I understand why they do it, is I wish they did have a unique name. So I'm going to pride myself a little bit on this with KandidVision Media. I think it works really well and it's unique. And the reason I also like it is because it's not directly relating to me. So if God forbid I have to pass this on to someone else, then I am able to do that, and it doesn't really like impact that. Like it's not tied towards me. The problem when you make it like someone's name or you put your name in it is it becomes tied to them. And yes, it can translate down the road, but it is a lot harder, especially for photography and videography. I feel like it's usually tied to that person, and once that person's not doing the company anymore, you know, it's not as interesting to keep track of. And also people are, you know, gonna assume that if they know that person's not there anymore, then, you know, they're not gonna have someone to manage that business. So something to worth considering. I suggest personally having something that is more generic or more relating to you in terms of like your vibe or mood compared to, you know, an actual name, like your actual personal name. So I personally think don't have ones that are generic. Have something where it's specific, or when I say specific, as in like it's a unique word or a unique word phrase or something. Don't have something generic like a name. I think that's just something that will not work for you down the road. Another big one is think about where are you going to put your logo. So do think about the certain instances where you can apply your logo. And I did refer to this a little bit in the beginning, but think about how your logo will be perceived. Is it going to be okay to put on certain business cards? Is it going to be able to be put on signage? Is it going to be able to put on screens? You have to think about all these different things, or at least get someone who is experienced to do that. Because if you don't think about that, then you are going to end up having to change it later on, and it could be pretty expensive down the road to do that and not realize that in the beginning. Even just doing a simple search and getting some basic information is way better off than just going blindly and paying and doing it and just thinking about it later on. And last but not least is don't go use AI generators for logos, or use something where they are inexperienced. Now, this I'm going to say with a little bit of an asterisk, because you can use these if you want to get an idea, like a concept, or if you want to use this as a base thing to really build off of it. I wouldn't necessarily trust these two things, because you are going to get something that's probably subpar, or it's not going to work for you nearly as well. There are a few that might work, which I know some other people promote, but I would just personally think it's worthwhile paying a little bit extra so that someone can think of all this through, for you, and you won't have to worry about it later on. Because think about it this way, if you have to rebrand, like I said in so many times in this video, you have to rebrand later, it'll probably cost you more than just thinking about all these and paying a little bit more, so that they all think, then paying a little bit more upfront and not having to worry about it down the road. Like I'm telling you, I've not changed my logo since the entire time I've been doing photography and videography. And that's because I had certain specifications I wanted for it, and those applied really well, and they work for pretty much every instance I want them to. So it works, and why fix something when it's not broken? Like, I think it works better if you think about it sooner and just do what you can to minimize any efforts that you have to change things later on in the future. So that was a pretty long video, pretty in-depth for the few things. And, you know, I might have some other things that will come out from this video, like certain other topics. But if you want to see more, be sure to look at this video over here, or check out the channel right over here. And if you want to hit me up on social media or ask any questions or suggest any ideas for future videos, be sure to let me know over here, or maybe it's going to be over here. I really hope you enjoyed. Hope you got value. Thanks for watching. Hope you see next video. Peace.